Dude, I got this like it's a zit basically, but it's like a clogged pore like right here under my eye, and that thing freaking kills.
Killing you.
It hurts. Like I went to go scratch my eye just now, and I'm like trying to work around it, and I can't. It doesn't matter because this is THP episode 204, which is brought to you by Steve Snaketuary and his Venom Hot Sauce. Check it out. Get the whole set. Collect them all. If you get these hot sauces from Steve, you're helping him with his Snaketuary, which involves taking in sick or unwanted herps that people have taken on and maybe couldn't handle, or maybe they just decide that it's just not their thing anymore. I think he recently got a Savannah monitor and another ball python that were kind of in rough shape. So kind of been watching that. But he also does a ton of public education, relocations, removals, all that good stuff. So go grab his hot sauce, stevesnaketuary.com. There's a handful of them for you to try. They're all really good. We like the cottonmouth sauce. That's our favorite personally. And then blackboxcages.com. You need a rack. You need a cage. BlackBox has the best of the best. You cannot go wrong, whether you're getting a rack or if you're getting a cage. They are top notch across the board. We fully vouch for them. We all have some of their stuff. We all love it. Use the code THN at checkout. Save yourself a little bit of money. Shipping's crazy. If you happen to be in the general Southeast region, near, within a however many, I guess even if you wanted to drive all the way from like California to go pick up, sure, why not? But if you're in the general region and you're near sort of North Georgia, they do have a pickup option. Save yourself on shipping and go just grab it yourself. Me and Jake make a nice little weekend getaway out of it. Like Brokeback Mountain kind of stuff, it's all good.
Yeah, you know how it
A
goes.
lot of shared hotel rooms, single bed, twin bed.
Oh,
Not a lot of
God.
room in there.
No, not with your ass.
Nope.
Not at all.
Yeah, so we get their stuff. We love it. Go grab yourself some, and then fullviceapparel.com. Use code THN at checkout as well. THN listeners and viewers like you get a exclusive 15% off when you use that code. New shirt just dropped today. Don't be a hemipene.
Don't be a hemipene.
So far, it's been pretty popular.
Yeah.
Got some other stuff I need to add. I'm going to add the podcast shirts and stuff up there maybe this weekend if I can find the time. Definitely want to get some hoodies up there. There's stuff that I need to get on there in preparation for the some sort of Black Friday deal that I'm gonna get going. So please stay in the loop on that with Facebook and Instagram. And yeah, don't be weird.
Nice.
Get a shirt. It's odd if you're naked. It's a little strange most places.
Well, I've actually got something for all three of those pinpoints. Number one, I'm wearing the Obsoleta shirt. I went the wrong way.
A little taxonomic anarchy.
I love it. It's got one of my personal pictures on it. I'm freaking excited. So that's awesome. It is. I love it. And then for Steve Snaketuary, I actually just found all the hot sauce bottles. I kind of knew where they were because I moved. It's been a while now, but I still didn't unpack all my Reptile shit because that's what
2 years later
what we do. So I went through all my crap because I redid my Reptile room. We'll get into that a little later. Redid all my Reptile room, and I was like, I'm going to go through a bunch of stuff, throw out a bunch of old crap I don't need. I was going through stuff and I found my bottles and I was like, hell yeah. So I'm going to clean all those out, set them up nice and pretty in the new snake room. And so that's going to be awesome. Love seeing the bottles again.
It'd be really cool to take those and grow like plant clippings in them or something.
Yeah, that'd
like
be
if
pretty
they're
cool.
empty.
Yeah.
Just have a little row of them with some, silver leaf or whatever.
Yeah. So
look neat. I like to do that with old like whiskey bottles and stuff that I have.
Yeah.
Not that I don't really drink, but
I don't know how big the top is on it. It might be kind of hard.
You could just have it'd be like a single cut ring or something. It wouldn't be anything crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, those are about to get cleaned out, put on display in the room. And then with BlackBox, also during the room upgrade, I finally put in that rack I got, the XR55, as well as a 4x2x2 cage. So both of those are rocking and rolling and looking awesome. So really excited about all of it. All of our sponsors are amazing.
Are there any updates besides the room on the animal front?
Yeah, so the room took me all of 3 entire days to complete. That was great. A lot of work, but it's done, and I'm very happy with it. I got a lot more room in there, and a bunch of snakes got a bunch of upgrades, so that was awesome. Animal front, I got those rat snakes last week from our good buddy Jeremy. He was on the last episode of THP. So check that out if you haven't listened. But he sent me some rat snakes whose county I cannot think of off the top of my head, for some reason. But county specific is wild caught female, dropped eggs, so that's a new project. I ended up getting all 6 of them because he had 6 and he sent them all to me. Half are going to a buddy of mine, half are staying with me.
They are nice. I received them and looked at them.
Yeah. They're real good looking.
Good looking snakes.
Yeah. So I'm keeping 2.1. My buddy Preston's getting 2.1. So that's a new project for us. Super stoked. Luckily, there were 2 females, so that worked out really nicely. I think they're going to get really dark. Right now, they're really light. They're almost lighter than my white oaks, which I didn't expect. But the female was really, really dark. And so I'm hoping they kind of go that route because I do want a darker locality just to kind of split up some of the gray rat projects. So that's exciting. And then our other good friend, Mike Kasicki, sent me a female Southern Pine yesterday. So got that in. She looks
parakeet down too.
Yeah, she looks awesome. Got her all set up. She's nice and pissy, so that's good. I got her because our friend here, Tony Mills, produced some Southerns, and
he got really male heavy because he produced like 2 clutches, and I think he literally only had between the 2 clutches like 2 females.
Yeah,
really strange.
So I that's why when Mike hatched his, I was like, I hit him up me. I was like, hey man, if you got any extra girls, let your boy know. Because I do want to be able, I have like, these are technically like Floridas or whatever. I don't know what you want to call them.
Yeah, I don't
but
even know
I consider my normals like undocumented Southerns kind of deal. So it worked out great. I do want to be able to just produce a bunch of normals down the road because I have Florida, albino Floridas right now, which those are absolutely awesome snakes. So I've got those, and I wanted to be able to do some normals and then maybe crisscross, produce some heads down the road. But yeah, excited to have a paranormal Southerns. Should be good as far as Pituophis are concerned now. I don't need any more very large bluebirds.
I don't know. It seemed to me like those things grow fast.
They do, man.
Like I don't know if it was just
that male I've got is huge, dude.
It just seems like they hit this period. Like they hit that year-old mark, and it's like they
explode,
hit on the afterburners or something.
They grow quick, man.
Wild.
It's
I wasn't even feeding mine really like that. I wasn't feeding mine heavy, and they were still just like growing.
Yeah,
growing.
They grow fast. They eat like crazy. So yeah, I think that's everything on the snake front. Got a couple babies going out the door this weekend. Good buddy Jack Oliver is coming down this weekend. We're gonna hang out a little bit, and he's taking 2 of the white oaks from me. So that's cool. One for him, one for our buddy Zach. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. Less mouths to feed, but also adding more stuff. So
yeah, kind of just
Stevens out,
stays at 0.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's everything. The room was pretty much the biggest thing. So
Yeah, it's just like every time I have to tackle like a rearrange, it's like, mother of God, let
Dude,
me clear my schedule.
I literally, dude, I pushed all my furniture in my living room like to the side, and I was
Start
like, all
pulling
right,
stuff
it's
out.
coming out, you
Yeah,
know. So I
I mean-
set up, I did like some prep stuff, you know, obviously got all my tubs ready. What I did was, so I melted all the holes on the tubs,
How
which
long
I
did
got
that take?
oh, dude, a day. Like between all the tubs I had, because a ton of I pulled everything out of like, you know, all the carpets got pulled out of racks, so they're in like taller, bigger tubs
Mhm.
now. They're either in the 110 quart hefty style tubs, or they're in like the gasket style tubs. Dude, I spent like $300 in random tubs. It was it was insane, but it was good. Much needed upgrades, and so I just like I prepped all those tubs, and I got all the tubs ready. And I was like, all right, time for animals. So I pulled everything out that was leaving, you know, and or that was going into new tubs, and it was a task. My living room was full of crap, and then I went through my closet and all my old supplies, and I was like, I'm gonna do this all at once. Then at the same time, I also rearranged my garage to condense a bunch of my bullshit, because my stuff pretty much took up the entire garage. So I condensed that to like a corner. So that was good. It was very productive. I got a lot done. It was very good. I finally got my artwork that I've been holding on to up in the snake room. So everything just feels complete. I feel zen when I walk in there now. It's not cluttered and everything's clean. All the carpets are on like a metal rack style now, with like the Bavarian Electronics heating
Back
pads.
to the old
Yeah.
poor man's rack.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
it because, like, number one, I wanted them in taller tubs.
Dude, it
and
works so well.
It does. It does. It really does. But the other reasoning I did it is I wanted to get rid of heat tape. So just because like heat tape just bothers me. I don't like heat tape. It scares me. I've heard too many horror stories, and I wanted it gone. So now my room is heat tape free. Even on the cages for the carpets I run heat on, I replaced the mats of heat tape that I had under there with the big VE.
Ooh, Callaway's taking that with them this weekend too.
What?
That rack right there.
Oh, that one?
Yeah. I was like,
Nice.
you want it? He's like, how much? I was like, just take it out of my house.
Get it
please.
out of my sight.
Like, just don't keep any small
Yeah.
calibers in it. You'll be fine.
Yeah. So that was really good. So no more heat tape in my room. Poor man, I got 2 poor man's racks running now, but dude, they're perfect because I got rat snakes that run on ambient, and one just fucking stacked.
I mean, for quarantine stuff, man, they're perfect.
Just for tall tubs, man.
That too. If you just, even if it's not necessarily quarantine, but like temporary setups until you can sort of get things rearranged and figured out, like they work great.
It's temporary for me until I get PVC enclosures. That's
well, I mean, you and I
you
have
know?
used them for
years,
man. It's a
man.
great setup. It's worked wonderfully for a bunch of stuff.
So and stuff that like I love, I love V70 tubs. I love my BlackBox racks, but when once my rat snakes get to a certain size, I like to get them in something tall because they do like to go up. Same thing for carpets. I don't like to keep them in short stuff.
Just a very cost effective.
Option. It's very cost effective.
Those Ultratherm pads, I love them to death.
Yeah, dude.
You'll never hear me say a bad thing about them. That's a phenomenal pad. Like, cheaper than the big box Zoom Ed stuff. Not nearly as powerful, so they don't get nearly as hot.
Don't have to run a thermostat.
I don't worry about those burning my house down.
No, I'm running 4 of them in the main room because again for the carpet rack, I've got the 2 110s for larger ones, and they're just on one of the bigger squares on one end, and then for the smaller tall tubs, I've got the 4-foot long one that runs across the back, and I just put tubs on top of that, and then I'm running like 4 of them for quarantine right now, 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, and if I ever needed to up the heat on that a little bit, like if I needed it to be a little warmer, I'd just take some of that corrugated like sign poster board kind of stuff that they use for like political signs and whatnot. Slap that under it with the heat tape on top of that, and it just completely radiates that heat back up and doesn't have If it's just the wire
Yeah.
rack, that heat has plenty of places to escape. But
I've
you
never
slap
had
that-
problems with that.
yeah, and I haven't either. But for some of the stuff that maybe just needed a bump a few degrees, it's a good.
It's funny. What I do is if it's too hot, I add bedding, and then if they want it warmer,
just
they
put
can
more
burrow
distance
down.
between it and the
exactly. And if I need it warmer, I just pull some out. It's great. It works perfectly. So yeah, that's how things are looking now, and it's definitely not the norm for a lot of people's standards, but man, it works so well. And for me, it works perfectly because I like taller tubs, for rat snakes and carpet pythons. So I mean, it's the go-to, man, because BlackBox doesn't have an arboreal rack yet, and yet hopefully that's coming in the works down the road. So in the meantime, they're in these until I can get a bunch of PVC cages. I think my next BlackBox order is just going to be 3x2 by 18 PVC cages. So because then I've got a stack of the 110s just like standing on the carpet by itself, just going up all stacked up, and hey, that works great too, man. So
yeah,
I'm real happy with everything.
I got to figure out what I'm gonna do because the Ackies are, depending on schedules, the Ackies are going to Callaway this weekend too.
Yeah.
So that means that the heater of my room is going to be leaving. So I got to plug in all my stuff now, get it going again. So
dude, just get a radiant heater, man.
I still need to. I still need to
room.
for the mice and stuff. I haven't had time to even go to Lowe's to look at them to see what they've got.
Walmart, bro.
Walmart too.
Walmart.
I've been busy.
Yeah.
Stay busy. So.
Yep. Story of our lives. But any updates with you before we get down to the nitty gritty of this?
No. I mean, the Ackies, like I said, Ackies are going. I've enjoyed them. It's just kind of space wise. That would sort of free up a good bit of space for me because I've got a whole stack of BioGs right now that are like floor to ceiling, and at least 3 of those can go in that spot.
You're probably going to stack them on top of the 3-footer that you got up there, isn't it?
They would probably go on top, like the Jansen. I would get bumped down to the floor.
Yeah.
BioGs on top of that. XA3 with the female persimmon on top of those.
I got you.
So just so it sort of fits a little more uniformly.
Yeah.
Other than that, yeah, I mean nothing really going on. I thought I had something.
Just in mind of the cage, is your 3-foot cage 18 deep or is it 2 foot deep?
It's an 18.
Okay, so yeah, it'll fit on the BioG then.
Yeah, it's basically 2 of those BioGs put together.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Which, when I get rid of that Habitat Systems rack, I think what I'll end up switching a lot of those green trees over to, because they're not monster green trees, they're normal size green trees.
They're
not the Monstars fucking Space Jam chondros. They'll fit in the XA3 without any issues. That's what I'd like to replace that rack with, is like a stack. I could fit 2 stacks right there, I think.
Oh, the 3x2x18s or the 2x2 or 3x2x2s?
The ones that persimmon's in, the XA3.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't do those won't be bio though. Those will just be the regular because I don't need that lip with the chondros.
That would look so awesome, dude. In that little corner,
so
just a stack of those cages. Oh man, that would be sick.
The sheer square footage I get just from get back from having that,
Yeah.
That Habitat Systems rack, I know I've talked about it a handful of times lately. Like it's nice and all, but mother of God, it's not conducive to the the layout of my room and how much space I have to work with, which isn't a lot.
You got a lot of snakes in that little room, dude.
Like, oh my God,
dude, I don't know how you move around in there.
It's tough.
You're gonna hate me when you come to my room,
dude. Even seeing the videos, I was telling Phil or someone the other day, I was like, Jake's got like the perfect size room. That's like exactly what, if I had that room, I would have no issues.
It really works
It'd
out
be perfect.
perfectly, man. It's just the way it was set up. I was like, this was made for a snake room, man. Because like my door, like leading into my room, there's like this little mini hallway, you know, that separates the door from the rest of the room, so I don't have to worry about putting shit in the way of the door. And I cover up one of the closet doors, and there's plenty of space, man. Plenty of room for activities. It's full now.
Yeah, and I think as time goes on, and I do finish switching everything over to BlackBox stuff, be it the V70 racks and other things, I think it'll
flow a lot better.
It'll definitely flow a lot better because everything will be a little more uniform and match a little better just size wise. It'll streamline things a lot more because now everything's just kind of all over the place with the different rack sizes and dimensions and tubs and things like that aren't BlackBox stuff. So I was looking around on the website actually a week or two ago, kind of formulating like what all do I really need to kind of get it to where I need to be happy. And
at this point, mine's literally just like getting like 3-foot cages for all my adult rat snakes, man. That's where I'm at to get rid of all these 110 quarts that I've got free floating in the room. So I'm probably gonna get 3 of those on our next trip.
I think I've come to the conclusion that if I do end up somehow being able to upgrade my room into something that's more spacious, I want to have it set up to where I don't have anything that's below knee height and nothing that's above like chest height.
You're gonna have to get an awfully big.
I know, but like
stand
it's just
that.
so nice to not have to, especially taller stuff. Like lower stuff, it's no big deal, but like taller stuff, it's kind of a pain when I have to get a stool at 6'4". If I have to get a stool to go get a water bowl out of a cage or something, it's like this is
man,
a bit much.
I gotta get a stool to get the cereal off the top shelf, man. Come on.
That's what I'm saying. Is like if I have to have a stool, like that's probably too tall. That's up there. So.
I hear you,
but
I don't mind it. Cages might be a different story, but
well, it also depends on what's in it. Like that little male persimmon, he's in that top bio-G that's closest to the ceiling.
Yeah, that's on you, my guy. You could have put him lower.
I'm trying to feed him, and he's like higher than me, and I'm knowing like if I piss him off enough, he's just gonna say screw it and bolt like nosedive out of the cage and either land on me or on the floor, and then we're going to play the game we play where I chase him around and grab him, and then I got to get him back in, and then he freaks out and springs back out, and it's a thing. So
it's a game.
At least with the chondros, like they just sit there. Damn persimmon, man. He's like, nah. He's like, I'm ready to go.
He's like, I'm gone.
He lives to play that game of floor hockey.
He's a crack chondro.
He is. They both of those went on food strike for a while, and they've finally, the female especially, has finally gone back to eating regularly.
Dude, her cage is so sick, man.
I think I put that pothos in there.
So
and I think
nice.
That made a big difference for her. But I also think it was getting too warm in that room, and that's why they went off food.
Yeah.
Those I'm convinced are a little more temperature sensitive than the rhinos are.
Yeah.
You know, they heat just doesn't do good things for them. Like high heat.
Yeah.
Room temperature or slightly cooler seems to be their sweet spot. So,
yeah,
because they're both back to eating like champs. They went on a strike for a while there, and I was like, what's going on? I almost moved her back into the bio-G because I was like, is it this new cage? Like, I gave her plenty of hides. It wasn't a shortage of hides or places for her to get away from me, like visual barriers and stuff. Yeah. And the only thing I could figure after talking to Matt about it too was like, it's just, I think it's just too hot because nothing else has changed from her previous setup aside from just having more places to hide. But I don't know. We figured it out. But other than that,
we have ranted enough. Our guest tonight is the one
triumphant return.
Triumphant
return.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, we were gone last week. But
no, I mean Andy. We haven't had Andy on forever.
Yeah. I thought you meant like as to why we were talking so much.
No.
Yeah, no, yes, the triumphant return of Mr. Andy Middleton. We are very excited to have you on, brother. You doing all right tonight?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to be back. It's been 3 years or so, I believe.
Yeah. When you told me that, I was like, "There's no way."
Because I remember the last episode we did, like specifically. And yeah, he told me it was 3 years ago. I was like, holy smokes, man.
Yeah, man.
So,
Time flies. Time flies.
yeah.
But
So
always a privilege to sit down with you guys, and
yeah,
happy to
man.
chop it up.
Yeah, man. I was super stoked because it hit me. What was it? I think I messaged you. You were supposed to come on last week.
Yeah,
Then
last week was
Justin
my fault.
bailed. So he was like, "Can
Full
you message
responsibility.
Andy, see if he could do next week?"
I had to go
Like,
get a
yeah.
Converse.
Yeah. So yeah, man, it was super great. We actually planned a little bit in advance for Andy, so that was good. But it hit me. I was like, dude, we haven't had Middleton on forever. We gotta
Yeah, the one time we
get
actually
this
plan it
guy
out
on.
and get it right.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta punt it.
So
It's hard.
yeah, man, what's new, brother? What's going on?
Yeah, in 5 words or less, like what you've been doing for 3 years.
In 2 words, staying busy. That's for sure.
Yeah.
A lot's changed with life and with the snakes and all that fun stuff in the last 3 years. So yeah, certainly a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, man. So like I guess start with what's different. Obviously if you want to talk about your personal life, that's more than fine. But as far as snakes are concerned, what's changed in the last 3 years, man? Are focuses any different, different species, stuff like that? Give us the rundown.
Yeah, so I couldn't even tell you what the state of my collection 3 years ago. It's hard to think back at everything I was keeping then, but primary focus is still absolutely green tree pythons, still at the top of the list and the bread and butter. But yeah, still keeping the emeralds, northerns and basins, diamonds, Moluccans. Got some rat snakes now. A little bit of influence from you guys and hanging under the gazebo too long. And what else? Blood pythons. Blood
Yeah.
pythons have become a thing around here, and Boelen's pythons. I think that's really it.
Nice,
I think you've
man.
just been spending too much time around Opedal is all it is.
Yeah. It's rubbing
Horrible
off a little bit.
influence.
That's
Yeah, I
for
was about to
sure.
say, he's a bad influence. You gonna blame us, but he's a but so since the first episode, you've actually had a couple green tree clutches, haven't you? You've actually, because I remember, I think that last episode we did, you hadn't actually produced.
It was
any
like
yet.
the year before the season you had
Right.
paired, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had my first clutch in 2021, which was awesome. I still have a couple of those guys around, and then I had my second clutch early this year. So
Very good, man.
yeah, man.
How was the hatch rate on those?
First clutch I think went 6 for 7. Had 7 good eggs and got 6 of them to hatch. It was all yellow clutch. The sire is like a sarong type. I don't know exactly what he is. I didn't have any information on him when I got him, but I suspect he's a yellow sarong or something along those lines, adjacent region. And then the Biak was a yellow neo, Biak female. So, yeah, went for 6 or 7 on those.
So you hatched a bunch of garbage green trees, is what you're telling me.
Whoa.
Absolutely not. No.
No, I'm just
There's
totally
no such
joking.
thing.
I hate that whole like, if it wasn't a red
it's
neo,
yellow.
if it wasn't a
Gross.
red neo, I don't want it. And I'm like, dude, shut up. Like, I freaking hate that.
Yeah. Baby chondros are a real treat, no matter what color they are or what they're from.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat a little baby chondro.
I like the yellows, man. I think they're awesome.
Good
They're
deal.
all awesome.
Yeah. What was your second clutch? What was the pairing on that?
So that was a male I got from Dave D, which was out of Sky Topaz. The Sky Topaz male and a Cyclops Sarong female, and the female was produced by Greg Maxwell in 2007, and that was out of Pygar and Sheila. So it's a blue line outcross pairing. So yeah, I got 3 good eggs out of that pairing, and it was the female is actually owned by a good local buddy of mine, Aaron Robles. So he had this female he kept as a pet for many, many years and posted up on the forum one day, hey, looking to breed my female. Is anybody nearby? And sure enough, I was 25 minutes away and we worked it out, and yeah, we're really stoked to get anything out of her because she's well out of her prime, and just to get some of her babies on the ground is a real treat.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
How did she?
Man.
I mean, how did she do being older? Was there any?
She did really.
hiccups there?
She did really well. It's hard to chalk up whether the lack of fertility in the clutch was the first time male or her or something environmental or what, you know. But she's done really well. She got right back on food, did everything she was supposed to. So I might even try her again this year.
Because
Nice.
she would have been a first time female then too, right?
Yeah, they were both first time breeders, and
Yeah,
her first time being at 16 years old.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's awesome, man. No,
Yeah, man.
that's really good. You know, if it number one in today's hobby, if a snake lives to 16, you're doing pretty all right. But to produce a healthy clutch, you know, even though it was small, you know, healthy, that's fantastic, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. We were really excited to get anything, you know, let alone get 3. I ended up with 2, and he got 1. So
Nice.
yeah, it's
Well,
awesome.
I do wonder though, with older animals like that, that's something I've thought about is you know, not the older animals that have been bred year after year for a decade, but like older animals like that have never been bred before, if pairing them like that in their older age is actually something of, you know, some sort of benefit to them health wise. Like if it sort of, I don't know how to not necessarily reset the system, but sort of gets the gears moving a little more, you know, physically, and just kind of refreshes them in a way. I don't know how to just explain it, but something I wonder about.
Yeah, well, I mean, with chondros and any snake, really, in my opinion, like breeding them, especially females, is really the most dangerous thing that you can put them through. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say whether them being older, you know, is less dangerous or better for their metabolism, or I don't even know. But I don't know. I think I don't know. She's certainly well out of her prime, and I don't have a ton of experience breeding chondros to have much of an opinion on the matter. But I don't know. I feel like it's hard to beat a primed up 5-6 year old female.
No, yeah, no, you can't. That's always, I feel like that's the prime for like anything, you know, because I'm the same way with carpets, you know. I like 5-6 years old, you know. I know a lot of people shoot for 3 and 4, you know, but I like 5-6 year old girls, you know, like ready to shut up. I heard that chuckle, you know, for breeding wise, man. I think that's when they're really, you know, often going at that age and size, you know. Especially nice and slow grown, baby. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm pairing up a 6-year-old female this year for the first time, and I don't know if it was just the nature of how I fed things. You know, I think I was a little too standoffish when I got into chondros and what have you. So she's probably a little behind the 8 ball compared to all her clutch mates and what have you. But I didn't even think about pairing her until, you know, the summer of this year. So
Yeah.
we'll see if I end up pairing her up, but she may even wait till 7. You know, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Nothing wrong with
page.
that, man. That's one thing I try and tell everybody is like, you know, don't rush into it. You know, you got time. You got nothing but time to breed these things. So, you know, make sure they're ready. Don't rush into all that, you know, because it's a good way to fuck up your snake. So
It's just so hard to gauge anymore. Like, you know, is there a measuring stick that would dictate whether your animal was behind the curve in a clutch compared to an animal from the same clutch in someone else's care that maybe feeds heavier or just keeps, you know, warmer, or, you know, there's a lot of variables there, because that's something else I've wondered about too. Is I've talked about it as well, is the standard for what we consider too small or undersized or underweight severely warped by massively obese animals that we see on online all the time, to where we think that that's the norm, and that's sort of where our subconscious sort of measuring stick is, to where, you know, if you have a 5-year-old animal and it's considerably smaller than than what you see other people posting. Maybe not necessarily animals from the same clutch, but just in general. And I don't know. I guess it's kind of it's purely subjective, I guess, at that point. It depends on who you ask, but I wonder the same thing because my chondros, I've talked about that. I've got some 5-year-old animals that are small. They're not big,
right?
But it's also I don't feed them a lot. Like I don't feed them super regularly. I keep the meals fairly small. So it's like, is that because mine might be half the size of an animal from a similar clutch or the same clutch that's the same age and fed a lot more regularly? Like, I don't know. It's, again, I guess time will tell depending on if it lives longer than the other ones that are overfed.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, it's hard to determine because we really don't know. Like, we can go off like, wild animals all we want, but we don't know exactly how old those are, how often they eat and all that. We can do our best to try and determine what we can.
Yeah,
but
but
there's no
chondros are special in
recipe.
that regard because Natouche got average weights from like over 1,000 animals.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
And he's like, this is what they typically seem to be in the wild, and that seems like a pretty good measuring stick for me, at least.
Yeah, it's with chondros specifically, the disparity between the what us in captivity picture as a ready to breed female and what Natouche has seen. It's night and day.
Yeah,
it's a 4 to 5 to 6x difference.
Oh yeah.
So I think a lot of people haven't bred a lot of small females and whatnot. With the majority of females being bred, over 700-800 grams. It's yeah. There's always much more to learn.
Oh yeah, man, no doubt.
Well, I mean, I was showing Jake that big Biak female I got recently. She's the same age as a Biak that I hatched in 2019. And how much bigger would you say that female is compared to that other Biak? Like it's ridiculous. I swear to God, that bigger female has to be like what 5 times the size of that.
Yeah,
that 2019
dude. Like this is literally like
unbelievable.
His old breeder female that produced his first clutch was big. It was a big chondro. Don't get me wrong. And he sent me pictures of this one. I was like, oh, it doesn't look nearly as big as your other one, And then I came here and I saw
this is the first time he's been over here in a while. So I was like, look at this thing.
Oh my God. Like this thing
was getting
this thing looks like a chubby ball python on a stick, dude. Like it's huge. Just a freaking
first order of business with that one was like, you're going on a diet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever that means for chondros. Getting those things to lose weight is freaking impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah, with females, the only way is really just to breed them.
No,
that's exactly what he said. He's like, yeah, once she lays eggs,
when she pops out a clutch, she'll be exactly where I need her to be.
Yeah,
it's like I don't think she's gonna have to. I'm gonna have to worry about her bouncing back at all because she's gonna be right there.
The same, yeah. That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
But so you're working with some emeralds now. Let's talk about those. Where you at with those breeding? What you got?
Yeah, so my pair of northerns is probably another year or two. I'll probably err on the side of caution, wait another 2 years. But they're doing well, taking big boy and big girl rats these days, and doing everything they're supposed to. So they're doing really well. And the basins, more than likely, will probably get paired up next year.
Oh wow! Okay.
That was one thing I was surprised about because I saw Justin Olson's basins when you first moved down here, and then I hadn't seen him in a couple months, and then I ended up snake sitting for him while he was out of town for a couple weeks, and like the first time going back over there and seeing him, I was like, those have actually put on some size. Like they, as much as everyone talks about how slow those are to grow, like it seemed like they grew at about the same rate as most chondros do. Like they had put on some substantial amount of size to them in what I thought was sort of a relatively short amount of time for the species. But I don't know what your experience has been in that arena.
Yeah, so I think kind of with everything that I was buying up in 2018, 2019, I think I could have taken advantage of their growing years a little more. They're 5 years old now, and that's when most people would be pairing them up. But, my female doesn't have quite that mature adult textbook head, so that's kind of what I'm waiting to see before I end up pairing them up. And yeah, it's just overall with my collection, I've kind of leaned more towards trying to take as much advantage of their growing years and looking for opportunities to get meals in them. Just overall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I thought they were like a 5 to 7 year animal as far as growth rate and maturity goes. I didn't know how long it took them to what the average age was, at least in captivity, was for breeding.
Yeah, 5 to 7 is pretty much the rule of thumb. Yeah,
I gotcha. That's cool, man. I don't know why, but like I've gotten a little bit of an itch recently, and I'm like, I kind of want an emerald or two, man. I don't know why, but
he's going full arboreal.
No,
now. Yeah.
not even close. But like, part of me just wants a snake that sits on a stick, just like one, maybe two, just for giggles,
That's what I said.
But that's not happening. I have too many rat snakes for that.
Yeah, one is too many, and 1,000 isn't enough. So looking forward to seeing you take the plunge.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I think I could gain a little bit of control with that. I like getting musked on too much, man. Like
he's not getting musked on. He's not living.
That's right, man. If I'm not living, if I'm not getting musked and bit,
people don't say
all the time.
Why do you smell like that?
Yeah.
And what are we even doing here?
Dude, you should have put that on the shirt at the bottom. So why do you smell like that? But
going back to chondros real quick, did you change anything as far as incubation and temperatures and stuff from that first clutch to this year?
No, I really did the same exact thing I did the first year. I had pretty good luck with it, and if it's not broke, I didn't want to fix it. I guess one thing I did do is I swapped out the fan in the incubator, so it's adjustable and I can control the speed. Just
okay.
a little upgrade, I suppose. Just a computer fan. But apart from that, yeah, everything was the same. Probably, I have a bunch of sim containers, but it was probably the same exact sim container, water substrate, and I think I straight baked them at 87.2 or 87.3 and dropped it down to 86.5 for the last 10 to 12 days.
Because it seems like I remember with my first clutch, I think I did them at 86.5. But it seems like seeing some people talking online, like maybe people are starting to go lower than that. Like the general consensus seemed to be shifting towards lower temperature and a longer incubation. But I don't know, not being really having a finger to the pulse of what's going on in chondros and how people are doing things now. I don't know if that's the case still or not, but
yeah, there is. People are certainly experimenting a little bit. Most of the people I talk to on a regular basis.
What?
So, yeah, but I don't know. It's everybody's incubator behaves differently everywhere. What room they keep their incubator in, can be a variable that comes into play. And some people's hatch on day 49 and that's their norm, and others like myself, it's day 52, day 53, and it's, I don't know. All the babies that I've hatched, they've all come out fully absorbed their yolk. It's not like they were in a rush to get out of the egg. It probably helps that I wasn't all up in their business and cutting the eggs on a certain day or anything like that. So yeah, I don't know, but I only have 2 clutches
Have
under
you-
my belt, so.
Yeah, I mean, have you, as far as cutting goes? I mean, are you have you been a cutter, or are you?
These days I
Professional?
really don't cut at all. I kind of just let them do their own thing, and kind of adopted the mindset that if they're gonna hatch, they should be able to do it on their own.
Yeah.
I'm so conflicted on that.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of horror stories of and had some buddies cut too early, waiting for day 51 or whatever they think is the ideal time for them to hatch out, and the babies rush out of the eggs and get twisted up in their umbilical cords, and they can seems to be that if they get rushed out of the egg, they end up coming out really weak and crash quite quickly. So
Yeah, anytime I do cut it, it ends up being, once we're past sort of the expected date, and usually by at least 2 days or so before I cut. It's definitely not like, okay, they're supposed to hatch on day 51. Day 51, I got those cuticle scissors ready to go. It's like, hey, these were supposed to hatch like 3 days ago. What's going on? But I'm definitely, if I get eggs again, I'm definitely not going to incubate in the same way I did the first time. Because I mean, Jake, you remember, like, that was kind of a disaster. Like, I had a really hard time keeping those eggs hydrated. A lot of that had to do with the box I was using, but I had a ton. Like, I remember there was probably a third to maybe a half of that clutch. Like, there was all like full term, fully developed babies in there that just never made it out.
Of the chondros?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah,
that.
I had a solid handful that were completely developed, colored and everything, like just never got out, So
were the eggs suspended over whatever your substrate was, or
they were over water. But the egg box I had was like sort of because at the time it was, I don't know why I used this box, but it was a shoe box with like a loose ass lid on the top. And even with, some press and seal over the top of it, it just, they immediately, not long after even being put in there, I'm talking like within a week, like they had all started to shrink, sink in a little bit and just look dehydrated. And I'm like, this should not be happening. Like, they're over water. It makes no sense that these would be dehydrated because they're literally surrounded by it. Which Luke Myers had a similar thing happen with his. And when he put his in vermiculite, he's like, they plump right back up, and he's had no issues since. And I'm pretty sure he still incubates that way. But
dude, I'm telling you, I used, of course it was for rat snakes, but hatch right, dude, I loved that stuff. It almost like, cause it's really weird. It's not dusty at all. Andy, I don't know if you've ever messed with hatch right at all, if you know the consistency.
Basically perlite.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dude, I loved that stuff. I didn't think it felt dry, and I was like, this is dry. Like, this crap isn't gonna work. But dude, after a day or two, there was a little bit of the fog on the lid, and then it started, like, by the end of it, there's like drops almost on the lids, and I'm like, gee whiz. So that, dude, that's my new go-to, because I don't like messing with trying to deal with water consistency, squeezing it, see how much water comes out of it, if any.
I don't like vermiculite just because of how messy it is.
Dude, that hatch right, I'm not using anything else.
That's probably
I'm
what
telling you.
End up going with, because I completely forgot about it.
Dude, I am not going to use anything else. I loved that stuff. I'm going to use it for carpets, colubrids, all of it. It was fantastic. So it's not super cheap, but because
you can get a bag of organic perlite from Lowe's for a big bag.
Oh yeah, the perlite.
Cheap.
Yeah, I'm
It's
talking
pretty
about
much the same thing though.
Yeah, but this isn't even just add water. You just pour it out, man. It's easy. It's great.
Yeah, I guess one trend I have seen with chondro incubation is a lot of people putting their eggs directly on substrate, very coarse vermiculite in particular. See people like John and Dave doing that these days. So I guess I would say that one thing I have noticed is people putting their eggs directly on the substrate, and apparently get very soft, velvety, plump eggs, that tend to not dry out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I said, vermiculite's it's great and all as far as like it doing its job, but I hate dealing with it because it's like glitter. It's like once it's there, it's never
That
coming off
stuff
of you. Like,
sucks.
you're
That
never
stuff
getting it off
sucks.
you. It's the herpes of arts and crafts. Like it's not
Yeah.
leaving.
Yeah.
And
Man.
then you're trying to squeeze it and like put it in a box, and now your hands are covered in it. So if you need to go grab something else, you can't because you're got freaking glitter mittens, and it. If I don't have to use it, I won't. But
Well, I apologize, guys. I need to step away for 1 second to get my dogs inside. I'll be back shortly.
Yeah, you're good. Man.
Okay.
No worries. You gotta look into that hatch ride stuff, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I remember looking at it when I was at your house last because I was like opening the bag and I was like, this is weird. It's very strange.
It's
odd.
It's strange, man, because it feels dry.
It's dry, but it's wet in this bag.
Like, yeah, dude. Because dude,
witchcraft.
I was almost worried about the water droplets on my tubs for incubating. It got so wet in there. But man, I tell you, if it didn't work like a charm for all the healthy eggs, man, it was perfect. I won't use anything else.
I think back to that first chondro clutch and thinking about it now, I'm slightly amazed that I even got live babies out of that.
All that
it was it was so stressful because I was like, why are they doing this? I'm sending pictures to Harlan. I'm like, what the hell's going on? He's like, they're dehydrated. I'm like, how? They're over water. Like, I'm literally doing what you told me to do.
But I feel like that's where like putting them in the substrate can almost help, like being directly in something,
Well, they're not nearly as thick shelled as the other Asiatic stuff that I've hatched was, like the Boiga eggs and the Ganyasoma eggs and stuff. They're like, those chondro eggs are like paper compared to those. Like the shell is just completely different. It's really clearly very different. Andy,
how do you feel about separating eggs? Are you a separator or are you a clumper?
Not necessarily. I tend to leave them clumped up if I can get the lid on the egg box. But I try not to separate them and all that fun stuff. I think I'm just more scared of ripping an egg. I've seen it happen. Try and leave them intact and let them do their own thing.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, man.
What was the driving force behind the getting into the bloods?
So they really fell into my lap more than anything.
I was about to say, weren't those kind of just like, here you go?
Yeah. James is a good buddy of mine, and he had a really good buddy of his, that had a baby on the way and had to clear out a snake room to make for a nursery. So he ended up giving them to James. And James was messing around with them for a bit, and I ended up with them, and so I got them early last year, and I have a sizable group of blood pythons now.
Didn't you hatch some?
Yeah, so I paired them up for the first time early this year, last season, and the babies hatched in the summer.
Nice. How are you liking working with them? I had a very short time with bloods, and
our experiences with them haven't been the best.
Did not go with
that.
Not
horrible.
Well. I didn't kill any. I just didn't like them. But I'm curious. I do want some Borneos eventually, but I'm curious what your experience was.
Well, it's funny because they're literally the polar opposite of everything I keep. You couldn't get a more terrestrial python.
Right.
So they've been a big change of pace, that's for sure. But they fit right into how I was keeping nearly all of my pythons. So they fit right into the mix, and I love them, especially the little babies. They're a real treat, and they've been a real fun change of pace.
I feel like temperature wise, they're basically like chondros just on the ground. You know what I mean? Because like they're one of those like lower heat. So they need a hot spot, but it's more like a 83, 84 hot spot, and then lower ambience. Am I wrong?
No, you're pretty spot on. They're basically chondros and not chondro cages.
Murder slugs.
Dude, those things they're so crazy, man, because you'll see them. They're one of those, they're like a jack in a box, you know, like they almost jump and they go up. But you'll see them like they'll be sitting there with their eyes up, and then you'll just see them like look around for a second, you know. It's like, oh
Yeah,
god.
their eyes tell the story, you know. You can tell when they're getting excited when their eyes start flickering rapidly and their breathing picks up. I find them to be very easy snakes to read.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, they let you know, man. There ain't no lie about that. This is funny. I'm pretty sure I've told the story before, but my back in 2000, it was 17. I think it was 2017 is when I got some. No, 18. 2017 or 18. I got a few, and I got this one, like it was, you know, basically an adult male, and I shouldn't have taken him, you know, in hindsight, but you know I did. And I had but my roommate at the time, or one of my roommates at the time, he was kind of trying to mess with snakes with me a little bit. You know, he had kind of went in on a few projects. I was the main guy doing them, but I had this bigger animal quarantining, and I needed to treat him for mites. And he was like, "Hey man, I'm gonna," you know, because I showed him kind of how to do it with a really safe spray. It wasn't, you know, the Frontline that I use now. He's like, "Hey man, I'm gonna treat some of these, you know, bloods." And I was like, "All right," and I was like, "Hey, just leave the male, leave the big boy alone. Like, don't mess with him, you know." And I didn't hear back from him for like 30-45 minutes, and I'm like, this fucking guy is messing with that snake, because he was not a nice animal, you know. He was hot. And like 30 minutes later, he sends me a picture of his arm just all bloodied up, and he's like, "Yeah, I messed with him and I dropped him." And I was like, I I told you not to do it, man. Like that's what you get, you know. And now I'm mad that you dropped my freaking snake, you know, because he was one of those. If they would jump, he would just go like that, and they would fall. It happened more than once. So I was like, yeah, that was great. Good move.
Yeah,
Good.
out of the 25 or 26 that I have, there's only one that I can think of that you got to be on your game when you go in to change that cage. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's so I don't know if I'm lucky or what, but I haven't found them to live up to the reputation that they have.
Yeah, no, and I feel like a lot of them, you know, I feel like it's more so. I mean, I could be wrong, but it seems like because you work with, they're mostly morphs that you're working with, right?
Yeah, it's all T positive, batik stuff for the most
Okay.
part.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like that stuff seems like, at least nowadays, seems a little bit more calm than some of your, you know, like Borneos and stuff like that. You know, I feel like a lot of those are, you know, a little bit more hot, but those nowadays they seem to be calming down a good bit, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure multi generations captive breeding, helps with that as opposed
Yeah.
to, like a lot of other pythons that get imported and full of piss and vinegar from,
Oh yeah.
the hell they've gone through. So
Yeah. Yeah, can't blame them, that's for sure. You work with, or for some reason I thought you had some 007 stuff. Do you have any of that?
I
Or gold?
don't no golden eyes stuff,
Okay.
just some VPI stripe stuff. Nearly everything is T positive or het T positive.
Mhm.
Boutiques, Matrix is in a little bit of everything, and yeah, that sums it up pretty well.
That's awesome, man. I'm a sucker for those 007s, man. I ain't gonna lie. 007s and the golden eyes. Woo. I'm not gonna lie. Those are.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Do you plan on expanding on the Bloods at all, or are you just kind of rocking and rolling with your group?
No, I don't have any plans to add to the project. If anything, I'll probably be reducing the group overall, just because space reasons, everything, that you deal with. And I'm at the precipice at the beginning of doing a full, snake room renovation. So, every square foot matters, and
Yeah.
it's pretty much accounted for. So, unfortunately, I will be cutting back a little bit on the bloods.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Nothing wrong with that. But now let's get down to the really important question. Have you expanded on the rat snakes at all since you got the corn snakes in Daytona a couple years ago?
Well, yeah, I got those buckskins. So I still have the male. I picked up some Kunashir Japanese rats. So those have been awesome.
Nice.
And then I picked up some het red zeps from Tony D at Daytona this year.
Do you still have the female buckskin?
I do not.
Wow. Yeah, that sucks, man.
You need some castañas.
Yeah, so I think I'll stick with the Okatee, projects for the most part. That's what gets me all fired up, and
they have Okatee castañas.
I couldn't even tell you what that is.
It's awesome. That's what it is.
I didn't realize you got red zeps from Tony D this year, though. That's awesome.
Yeah, they're normals, which is what I wanted. I wanted nice, Abbott Okatee, or not Abbott. My brain's feeling Sherman line Okatees, and and I like red zeps a lot, as you might know. So why not get the best of both worlds and straight Okatees that are het for red zep. So yeah, that's my corn snake plans.
Come to the conclusion that I am of a moral requirement to get an animal from Tony every year at Daytona now.
Yeah, dude. Like, I can't not.
Like, his stuff is
It's hard not to.
Dude,
so
I've gotten stuff from him 3 years in a row now. I wasn't expecting it. I've gotten multiple animals from him 3 years in a row, because I prepaid for my lemon rats, this year, and he was dropping them off or delivering to the Daytona for me. And then by the grace of God, he had a pair of just smoking Depi Jani. So I snagged me up those too. And I was like, man, I didn't expect him to have Jani. So got those too. But yeah, dude, Tony, it's like you got to, man. You can't not.
Yeah, total class act, and with the smoking animals to boot, hard to beat.
Yeah, no, he's an awesome dude.
I had that Ultramel that I got from him this year. I was feeding it the other night, and I just had to stop and look at that thing because I was like, "Mother of God!" This is just such a ridiculously nice animal. It's like whatever I end up pairing her to, which I actually have a Ultramel Okatee that I got from Joe Peck. That is her future boyfriend, but I'm like, that is just such a nice animal. And his stuff, across the board, every year, I think his table is the one that me and Chris end up talking about the most, because he's he always has stuff on there that we're just like, if I had unlimited funds, I'd buy every damn thing at his table.
Yeah.
Like,
yep.
And he's not afraid to bargain with you, man. He'll throw you some deals. He's like, hey, you like that one? He's like, I'll give you this one for an extra this, And I'm like, oh God, dude, don't tempt me like that. Don't tempt me with a good time.
Yeah, I don't think he tends to go home with many animals from Daytona.
Oh, no, not at all. But he also doesn't bring like a boatload. He brings enough, to make it worth it for him, but he's not showing up with 3 tables and 4 stacks high of corns, so he's definitely he's got quality over quantity, you know what I mean? Like, he's definitely got enough, but it's not like some of the corn dudes out there, man. Like, there's some tables there that I'm like, how do you even choose what corn snake you want?
well,
like,
you gotta do some digging.
400 of
yeah,
them.
you gotta. There's one table in particular that it's like they have a ton of stuff.
There's a couple of them like that, man.
It's like, I remember just thinking, like, I bet you there's some really nice stuff in here. You just gotta dig to the bottom of these stacks.
Dude, stresses me out, man. I'm like, I can't even look at this.
Well, that, and then you see a bunch of really nice stuff, and you're like, I want all these, but I can't.
I did that for the first time, and normally, like, the stuff I like, I normally don't have to dig through. Like, normally they're there, and I'm like, oh, hey, those, I want them. Excuse me. But this year there's a guy there that had locality South Florida yellows or Glades County yellow rats. And he gave me the road that the parents were collected on, had a picture of the dad and all this. And I was like, all right. And they're reputable guys. So I was like, all right, you sold me. I can buy these or locality. So I sat there and he had an LED light over his table. I sat there with every cup looking at like each individual snake. I'm like, because like
Who was it?
Glades Reptiles or something like that. Guy's name was Matt. Him and his dad do it. He was on like the front wall when you first come in, when you first walk into the door. So the right, he had a bunch of locality stuff.
Mhm.
And he just had some of these yellow rats for dirt cheap. And I was like, oh God. So I looked through every cup because your South Florida stuff, you can get, some of that Everglades influence, some oranges coming through. And I'm like, I've got Everglades. I don't need Everglades. I want South Florida yellows because the South Florida yellow is like this really blown out yellow rat and they can be really nice. So I was looking at each and every one to pick like the most yellow faded one I could find. And boy, they both shut out the other day and they're like almost this pinkish hue on them, like this almost ghosty look. I'm like,
Like
oh
a Glades rat?
God, no, not like a Glades rat at all. It's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, dude, I'm so stoked for those snakes. But yeah, gotta be picky and choosy with some of the stuff.
Are the Boelens
Yes.
as awesome as the internet makes them out to be?
I certainly think so. I have a soft spot for Somalia, the whole genus, and yeah, they're to me they're the king of pythons, no doubt.
Oh, really? So you think they're the kingpins, huh?
I think so. They're just different, and
Yeah.
maybe just to me, but they're really really special animals. They're yeah, it's kind of hard to describe, and they're just a scrub python with no insecurities, and do not, at least the ones I've interacted with, just really don't look at humans as much of as a threat, and they're I don't know. There's just something special to them, for sure.
They seem almost like the anti-scrub, kind of like how like you have king snakes, right? And you've got the really shitty ones, the Floridas and stuff, and then you've got the Texas stuff. But they're not like the Texas stuff is not like the Getula stuff. It's not. They're not, at least from what I've kept over the years. Like they're not finger eaters, relatively mellow, and so these seem to almost fit that same bill for Somalia. In that, like, yeah, they're in the same genus as scrubs, but they don't seem to be scrubbish, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they're definitely not scrub pythons.
Yeah, I not that I don't think they belong in Somalia, but I also don't think they belong in Somalia. You know what I mean? Like, I see why they're there, but like to me, they're just they should be in a class of
Like
their
their
own
own thing.
man. Like there's nothing like them,
Yeah, I certainly agree. That stuff's all well above my pay grade, that's for sure. But
For sure.
yeah, they just seem different.
Yeah, because they're a little bit. They're not as long as scrubs, right? And they're a little bit heavier bodied. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean they can certainly get pretty long, not as long as some of the huge bar necks you see.
Right.
James's were right around 8-9 feet, and more heavily bodied than some of the adult scrubs I've played with. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I got to see it for myself. So I've been lucky to raise up some young scrubs up to close to adulthood, and really grateful for the opportunity to be able to raise a young pair of Boelens. So
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they compare over time.
How big are your Boelens currently?
The female is a little older than the male. They're allegedly from unrelated clutches. So she's right around 2.5, 3 feet, and the male's a little bit smaller than that. But yeah,
Okay,
they're
so yeah,
quite young.
Yeah, they're still young. That's
And how are
awesome,
you
man.
keeping those in comparison to like the Clastolepis and some of the other stuff in the room?
Pretty similarly. That being said, I reduced their basking times. They're under heat panels right now, but once I bump them up a cage size, I'll put them under basking bulbs, just because they're so geared towards the heat, and they certainly seek it out when it's available and take advantage of it, and they retain heat like and no other python that I've dealt with. So I give them basking for 4 to 5 hours a day, and the other 19, 18 hours is at whatever the ambient room temperature will be. So I have 2 snake rooms. I have the one snake room that all the chondros, the emeralds, the Moluccans, the the rat snakes, etc. are in, and then I have this other room that I built that's completely uninsulated. 2 of the 4 walls are my foundation walls in my basement, so it certainly gets a lot colder, and cools down quicker than the balance of the basement. So I keep them in the cold room, and I kind of plan on cycling them from the age that they're at now, just like I have the diamonds, and cycle them as if they're adults. And I'm kind of mirroring what I'm doing with the diamonds with the Boelens.
And see, I personally, that thought process has always kind of been my thought process, especially with some of the stuff that's
Aim the mic more towards you.
Some of the stuff that's a little
There you
bit
go.
more complicated, I guess, or quote unquote harder to breed. I think a lot of it goes into people don't cycle them their entire lives, or they don't cycle them at all until they're adults and they think they can breed. And then they're going to start cycling, with stuff like rat snakes. Yeah, that might fly. It obviously does. People have problems doing it. But I think stuff that's a little bit more, advanced or complicated per se, Moluccans, Boelens, stuff like that. I think starting that process at a very young age will do leaps and bounds for breeding down the road. I think that's a huge thing for them. At least that's always been my thought. I do it with carpets. Carpets get cycled every year no matter how old they are. And that's just
Which was what you're taking them off food and dropping the temp a little bit.
well, yeah, but same idea. So.
I mean, I'm like genuinely
Oh,
asking.
I thought you were being sarcastic.
No.
Yeah, no. With carpets, yeah, I let the room temp drop, and then whenever I cut my adults off of food, I cut the babies off food. Doesn't matter how old they are. First year, maybe not. I'll feed them a little bit more. In those colder times, but I'll turn their heat off. I'll cycle them just like I do the adults. Which with the carpets, I usually leave the heat on, but I let the room temp drop. Pretty drastically. And then I cut food off all winter for all of them. I think that's a huge part and a lot of success for things. Granted, it slows down the whole process, as far as getting animals up to size. But again, is that really a problem? So I don't know.
Subjective.
Yeah, so I guess that's one of the main things I've changed, since probably the last time I was on, is every single one of my snakes, apart from the neonate chondros, their night drop is whatever my ambient room temperature gets to. The night drop set points on the herb stats and whatnot are well below what I expect the ambient of the room to get to.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've kind of no different for the Boelens, and it's 67 or so down there right now. But I'm sure if I temp gun them, they're still shooting at 74 or 75.
Right.
Their heat retention is really amazing, and
Yeah, that's really
especially for animals with such a small mass.
Mm-hmm.
Them being young animals.
Right. But it makes sense for, you know, the type of environment that they live in.
Right.
You know, it's cold weather, man. So when they get opportunities to get heat and absorb it, they got to do it better than anything else would, you know. So it makes a lot of sense as to why.
I'm curious as to what's actually going on that would allow them to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like internally, what's going
Yeah.
on? Yeah, why does it seem that it's exclusive to the Boelens? And I haven't paid close enough attention to it with the diamonds, another very dark python. Um, yeah, but yeah, it's certainly gets your brain going.
Yeah, I think the darkness is, that's why they're
Darkness.
black. It's like, I hate to make the comparison, but like around here, the first snake out from winter are black racers.
If they even go down.
They're the first things that are out and about. As soon as they get a semi-sunny day, you can be 60. It's the low 60s out, but if the sun's out, they'll come out and bask, and then they'll be quick as the devil. They're
I flipped one like 2 weeks ago
yeah.
on one of those colder days. I was like, you know what? Let's see what's under the tin. Flipped it. And of course, I mean, there's almost always a racer under one of them, but there was one just chilling. He took off like they do any other day of the year. I was like, these things do not care.
So that it all makes sense, man. And it sounds like you're thinking it through, and I I like it.
Well, yeah, I've had a lot of time to think it through. I've been trying to get my hands on them for 4 or 5 years at this point, and I had multiple deals lined up, and every deal fell through for various reasons. So I've had this picture esque, of how I would keep them, how I would raise them, and now I've kind of just applied what I've always figured would be ideal, and just making tweaks as needed. So I'm sure things will change over time. Just let them do the talking for me, and try and read them and adjust as needed. But yeah, it's I am super excited to have them.
Nice, man.
What do you think is sort of the missing piece when with breeding those? Because everyone seems to have their own sort of theories on what they think it is that we're missing out on as far as getting regular reproduction out of them.
It's hard to say. I think a variable that sticks out to me is a lot of the success in recent years, as there's been multiple males used, and that's been true for some of the Clastolepis breedings in Europe. The Boelens breedings in the United States. In most instances, multiple males were used on the females. So I'm not sure.
As in, like, they were getting swapped out, or they
both.
Rotated?
Yeah, both. So either pulling one male out and putting another one in, or having 2.1 together. It seems to be a common theme amongst people having success. So I think there's something to that. And not just the Boelens, other pythons that are notoriously tricky to get to go in captivity.
Do you think it's like I don't know if this is the right word, but more of like do you think it's a dominance thing in the male? Like either the other males in there with them, it's like, all right, who's the bigger man, who's gonna get her first, or swapping them out, being like, oh, I smell this other male, he's around, I gotta get her. Like, is it something like that, or do you just think it's
competitive driver kind of thing?
I really have no idea. I don't. I mean, you would think that having multiple males in together, the pheromones would be flying, but it's hard to say if pheromones are really what are getting females to ovulate. I really have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I revert everything back to stuff with carpets. It's like combating males, can get both of them going. It's not something I've ever done, probably never will. But I've heard a lot of people combat males, and all of a sudden both of them are like, let's go, smash a piece of rope.
Yeah, but with Boelens, it's not like the males are unwilling to breed.
Right.
Most people that have pairs or a number of animals, they get copulations every
Uh,
year. The part where the stuff doesn't pan out is getting the female to ovulate.
I got you.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't think of a good reason at this time as to why
Hmm.
multiple males would cause a female to ovulate. Maybe it's completely unrelated, but it just seems to be a common theme that
Hmm.
I've seen.
Yeah, and it could also be a fertility thing with the males. Maybe that's something that, yeah, for whatever reason, might make him more fertile. I don't.
It's so
It's hard,
frustrating when we
but if
have so little information on
yeah,
like the natural history of them. I think Ari's probably the only person that I know of, at least, that's
yeah,
put any serious amount of time into seeing them, in the field and taking as much information and notes as he can. But
yeah,
Yeah, nearly all the natural history that I've read up on and keep in my back pocket is really around the time of year where they're gestating or the eggs are hatching. It's a lot of it's geared towards the nesting and what have you. And I mean, there hasn't been a ton of males documented, even being found, let alone copulations being witnessed and what have you.
right,
And if they do breed in balls or anything along those lines, which has been documented in stuff like diamonds and things along those lines, it's just the data is really not there.
yeah. Oh, that's really cool, man. I'm excited. I'm really, when I heard you were getting them, I was like, if somebody's gonna do it, it's gonna be all Andy. So I'm excited to see what you can make happen with those things, man. It's gonna be a cool adventure.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the kind words. I'll certainly do everything I can and try try as hard as I can. But
Yeah,
the expectations are low, and
yeah,
they're just privileged to raise up at the moment.
yeah, man. That's awesome.
that's
Well,
that's the route I take, is
yeah.
have high hopes and low expectations.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, chondras will teach that to you quick.
But on kind of the trickier snake subject, where are you at with the class of lepus? Or you've had them for a long time now. Are you at the point of pairing them up? Or what's kind of the plan with those?
I'm probably another year or two as well with them.
Okay.
They're getting up to size now. The male's 7 6 7 feet, and the
Oh
female's
wow.
right around 5 or so.
Okay.
So the female certainly needs more time. I'm confident the male would go if I had a female up to size, but kind of just playing the waiting game right now. They're
Yeah.
taking down medium rats and putting on size. So
So
just waiting until.
they've got to be a good 5 years old now ish.
Yeah, the male is at least 5. I think I got them in 2018 or so,
Okay.
2018 or 2017, and the male is at least a couple wild years older than the female. The female was really small when we got
Okay.
her in, big enough to live in a V15 tub for quite a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, she was nearly that reddish tinted neonate
I got you.
that you see. So yeah, they're getting up there, but I raised them quite slow and didn't want to put too much weight on them too quick. Although it's these days I'm kind of under the thought process that you can feed young pythons without getting them obese and what have you. So yeah, just playing the waiting game right now.
Amen.
Have you changed anything as far as care goes with those over time? They've been tweaking things.
Yeah, I've dropped their basking temperatures over time a little bit, just because just getting fine tuned with my ambient room temperatures and all. But nothing drastic really. They're about to go into their final adult caging, which is 6 by 4 foot by 2 foot cages that they'll have radiant heat panels to bask under, as well as a proper basking bulb. So that is something I'll be changing up a little bit. I'm kind of with a lot of my stuff, I've introduced basking bulbs, and they seem to get into more of a routine on a daily basis, having to leave their retreat or their hide to go up to bask, as opposed to, just taking in the ambient temperatures from the panels. So yeah, I guess once they go into their adult caging, I'm really interested to see how they utilize them.
Yeah, that would be really interesting.
Where are you doing UV with any of them?
Yeah, so they're the male, I've kept them under UV. The female, I haven't. The male's a lot prettier than the female. I don't know if the UV exposure has anything to do with that. He's really gold and just, outstanding, and female's more brown and heavily patterned. But in their final adult caging, yeah, they'll both have access to UV.
Now, for their final adults, you said 6 foot long. Is it 4 foot wide or 4 foot tall?
4 foot tall.
4 foot tall. Okay.
Yep.
That's gonna be an awesome cage, man.
Yeah. James put them together, and they're beautiful. That's for sure.
Nice. That's fantastic, man.
He was the first person I hit up about those when I was making those crepe myrtle perches, about coating those. I was like, who would I know that would be able to tell me what the safest option was for sealing these things? And I was like, James.
Reached out to the right guy, that's for sure.
That's right.
Yeah.
We need to hit him up, try and get him on THP, unless he's not really a podcast guy.
He was on the ConjureCast, last ConjureCast episode.
Oh, really?
However many years ago that was.
Yeah, I'm sure he's certainly a porter. I could talk him into it for sure.
Nice.
But yeah, he's just built a ton of caging for me. So yeah, I'm redoing the whole snake room, and everything's going in cages. So I'm really excited to finally have everything in cages, and let alone to the exact spec and nitty gritty stuff that I wanted.
Right.
So.
What size are you gonna do? Like, what are you for the adult chondros? What size is he keeping his in, and what size are you keeping yours in with that?
I think the majority of his cages are 28 wide by 16 deep and 16 or 18 tall. He has some variations, just to get stuff to fit on the wall, but I think that's the majority of his caging. Mine is 31 wide by 24 deep by 18 tall.
Yeah. So like a 3 by 2 by 18 would be more than adequate for most of them.
Yeah.
I love that size cage, man. It's so versatile for a lot of different, averagely sized animals.
Yeah, for sure. And my chondros that I've raised from neos aren't very big, so right. It's plenty spacious for them for sure.
Yeah.
Eventually, I'd like to get my pair of rhinos, the adult rhinos that I keep together, out of the cube they're in and into one of those XT3s that I have like the percentum in.
Yeah,
I think that would be good. The cube works well for those, but I don't know. Cubes, like, I know a lot of people like them. I'm not a massive fan, just because they're just awkward in terms of the size and like finding a place where they fit sort of in my room. I have the one that I have is a sharp horn cage that I got years ago, and it's fine.
it's no BlackBox, but
over time I've just got, like, cubes are just clunky to me. I don't know, they're awkward.
Yeah, and for chondros, it doesn't give them a ton of usable surface area to work with. I think so, at least. So yeah, I certainly go for the horizontal space.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's where I'm at.
Horizontal space is good for just about everything, man. Gotta give it to them.
I can't really think. I mean, I know a lot of guys use those for like Amazons and stuff too, which sure, but I don't know. I'm right there, like, horizontal. I'd rather have a 3-footer that maybe isn't as deep,
right,
than a bunch of cubes. shape with that closet and stuff. It's
Your
kind of
room
odd.
is
It's
fucking
an
weird, dude.
odd setup. So
Yeah.
cubes don't really jive with it very well. If I could streamline it more,
Yeah.
we'd have it cracked.
Yeah, man.
You planning on getting into any other species at all in the near future here?
I think I'm out of the species game. Well, I say that, we'll see what happens, but you know how that goes. But I don't know. I find myself in this weird spot that I don't want this to sound bad or anything, but I kind of gotten my hands on everything that I really ever wanted. I've
Mhm.
kind of I'm not in the chase game anymore or searching for that next thing. I just find myself really happy and content with what I have going on.
That's the goal, man. I mean,
So
that's perfect.
yeah, and I think I got a good rhythm going on right now, and I just don't want to introduce much that'll complicate that further. It's I'm just really happy to have what I have, and I've gotten lucky to be able to keep what I keep. So
Yeah.
really just in the mind frame of keeping everything as good as possible and giving them all the caging and what have you that I've always wanted to give them and I feel they deserve. So um, it's kind of where I'm at with everything.
Very good, man. That's awesome.
But I'm sure there's definitely some animals I'll be adding. Just expanding upon groups. I think I'll probably want to pick up a couple extra males. With the Boelens and the Moluccans and I see myself adding a couple males there, and of course, I need a couple really high quality female chondros.
That's sick, man.
How are you liking those Japanese rats?
They're awesome, man. They're so different than everything. I feel like I say that about every species, but they're just everything they do, from the way they check you out when you come in the room or when you're feeding them, how they eat, and they're awesome snakes, man.
That's one species right there with like Russian rats that I've never heard someone say they didn't enjoy them.
Yeah.
Like I don't know a single person that's ever kept Japanese rats and were like, I hated them. They were horrible. Like everyone I know that's had them, and maybe if they don't even have them anymore, they were just like they were a blast. Like Billy Hunt had a group for a while, and I think he got out of them, and he regretted it like instantly. He's like, those things were a blast. I think he ended up getting some more, but that was one of those species. I remember the first time we went at his place, he was like, yeah, dude. He's like, these are some of my favorites. Like they're awesome. They're the ones he had. At least the one in particular that I remember seeing was like blue. Like that was a gorgeous snake.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've definitely got a thing for snakes that are supposed to be green and try and make them blue. So yeah, they're awesome.
Are yours like hatchlings or are they older?
They're like 2 years old now.
Have you had them that long?
Yeah, I got them as
Oh,
young
wow.
little babies, and yeah, I've been raising them up.
I didn't even know you had those. That's cool.
You and James been vending some shows recently. How's that been going?
It's been a lot of fun, man. We vended the New England Reptile Expo, which is up in New Hampshire. It's probably the first show I've done in 2.5, 3 years, that I've vended. So it's cool to, get back into the rhythm of that. So, we're trying to bring a variety of stuff you don't see at every show. Captive bred chondros, captive bred scrub pythons, not that blood pythons are uncommon, but a display full of nice blood pythons and more stuff down the line as our projects hopefully pan out. So it's been really cool to be able to explain captive bred chondros and why they're priced the way they are, and just how they differ from the one they saw at the flippers table not too far away. And there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
But I know I find myself spending most of my shows educating and talking to people, and young chondros and chondros in particular really spark people's interest, especially, people who aren't into snakes really. And so it's been really cool, man. It's so we did that New Hampshire show, and now we're kind of on the circuit, the vendor list for all the shows that that promoter promotes. So doing White Plains this weekend, and
Nice.
we'll see what comes up in 2024.
Yeah, that's sick, man.
Y'all gonna do Daytona?
That's the plan eventually.
Because James vented a couple years ago, right? Like that was.
Yeah. He and Tim Morris did it. It's just really far shows like that. We're up in the Northeast, so it's a commitment and a little bit of risk for sure. Traveling with neonate chondros, across the country. It really puts them through a lot. So, but yeah, I presume when all of our side projects or non-chondro projects are panning out, then yeah, we definitely plan to do the Daytonas of the world and the Tinleys of the world. So that's the eventual goal.
That would be awesome, man. Dude, he's he's so funny, man.
He's a trip.
James, every time, like I'd never talked to the dude like in my life. Basically, you introduced me to him like a couple years at Daytona, and I still have never talked to him like outside of Daytona. But every year at Daytona, he's like, "What's up, man?" We just cut up for a little while, and he's a trip, dude. He's it's one of those like it's like you never left, like
Yep.
he's a cool cat, man. He's a character.
Yeah, James is a good guy like that. You pick up right where you left off, and
yeah, exactly.
Daytona for us is we make a whole week and a half out of it. And, it's a vacation more than anything. So
yeah,
I'd hate to take away from that. It's kind of the 1 week in the year that I take off of work and look for snakes every night and every day, every morning, and it's just a snake lover's dream. That trip we do. So it's I don't know. I'd hate to take away from that, but at the same time, I'd love to be behind the tables at Daytona.
Yeah, Justin, you gotta look into a Fulvius table, man.
I've thought about it. I'm so conflicted on it. Like it'd be cool, but then I also like the ability as a show goer to be able to just kind of come and go and leave whenever I want and not have to be glued to a table the whole time. But
that's why you have me.
I know, but then it's turns. Like gotta make. It's just I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with it. Like for the magazine and stuff, when we did that, it was great. I don't know. It's just nice where it's like, okay, I'm gonna go smoke a cigar and then I'll come back in an hour. Like that kind of thing is nice, but I don't know. As far as like getting the brand and stuff out there, though, it's probably one of the best things you can do. It's just a matter of the logistics of it all, you know. But I definitely want to. Whether it'll be next year, I'm not sure yet. I haven't really decided. I'm sure I will, but it's tough.
For Daytona next year, I finally learned from all of my past mistakes. And as soon as the hotel bookings were open, I went and booked my hotel room for Daytona. I got a message in the group chat from Danny that was like, hotel bookings are open for Daytona. I said, all right.
It doesn't seem like they sold out as fast the last couple of years, though. Like last year
was fast,
this year,
man.
It seemed like they went real quick.
Yeah. This year was they went quick, and luckily they got Danny got a couple opened up for a few of us, but yeah, I went ahead and booked that shit right away. I was like, I'm not messing around this year.
Yeah, I've got some time to, I guess, decide if I want to do the vendor thing or not because they haven't even opened up the registration yet. But definitely be easier than doing live animals. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, dude, for sure.
It's like
come on, man, we can load my truck up.
Someone steals something off my table. It's like, okay, whatever. You got a shirt, asshole. Like,
come on, man, we can load my truck bed full of shirts and ride her down.
There's just the problem. See, the issue with that is you have so many different sizes, so many different designs, so many different colors. narrowing it down to the stuff that, because the name of the game is to come back with as little as possible, right? So sort of trying to navigate that and make sure you're offering something, because maybe people are going to want youth sizes, which I can do. That's not a problem. But then it's like, how much table space are you going to want to devote to that? Like
it's one of those things that like you could always, have like a couple youth sizes, but then, make it to where people can, you can make an order for somebody, and be like, I'll put you down for this and I'll get it sent out when I get back, type of thing.
Yeah. Cause I've thought about it and tried to sort of do the math in my head as far as like, what's a good amount to take with me as far as inventory goes. Not even just at like, because I wouldn't want to just be able to fill up a table. I'd want to have some stuff on hand, excess. In some of the maybe the more outlier sizes. So it's just a matter of trying to sort of figure that out and then figure out the time to get that order together before then. That isn't interrupting, other orders at work, and there's a handful of hurdles to kind of go through.
There's a lot of logistics with it, for sure.
At the same time, having stuff that's sort of ready to go, and I don't have to, because everything right now is pretty much made to order, the way I have it set up. So to have some inventory, if I came back with some, I wouldn't really be all that upset, because then I could just have it and go. But we'll see.
Well, the countdown is already on for next Daytona, so I can't wait. Especially after last year this year pretty much being a wash for me. So,
dude, that sucked, man. I obviously I was mad, but like I couldn't imagine you. But dude, I was so pissed when I heard about that, man. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, especially with the whole crew we assembled and got down there. Yeah, it was unfortunate, but that's the great thing about Daytona. There's always next year.
Oh yeah, man. Always next year. It's the one weekend every year. I wish I could make a whole week out of it. I always go and do so much. I normally don't have time or the money to spend on a hotel for that long. So, but I always try to make a few days out of it. I get down there Thursday and head back on Sunday usually.
It's the right amount of time for me.
Yeah, I just I go and I feel like it's over so quick, and I don't want to leave. It's so fast.
Usually by Sunday, I'm ready to be home.
That's why I like going Thursday though, because you have like Thursday. I try to get there early Thursday, then you have Thursday evening, all day Friday to just kind of chill, and then it's balls to the wall Saturday and Sunday. So I love it, man. It's not another show like it.
Did you go to Tinley?
I did go to Tinley. I made a last-minute decision to go, and it was great. I had a great time. I will say it's not Daytona, but it was a great time. It was my first time back in 4 years. So
oh wow!
It was good to be back, and I'm actually from that area. I was born and raised in the suburbs of Chicago, so it's always nice getting back to
Midwest, baby. Let's go.
Yes, so, it's always back seeing all the familiar sights and all that fun stuff. So it's like a homecoming trip for me, when I go out to Tinley. So, but I went with Pete Lombardi and Sam Pendleton, and we had a great time.
Good, man. That's awesome. I've always wanted to go to that show. It's so far for us that I haven't pulled the trigger, but I keep saying every year I say next year I'm going to go. Next year I'm going to go. I actually think 2024 October Tinley is going to be.
I'm going to hitch a ride with the cold-blooded caffeine guys. I'll just hide out in the back of their van. They won't even know I'm there.
Yeah, they'll know you're there. Trust me.
Yeah, I was drinking their coffee all weekend, and it's Tinley's now the October Tinley. That is. My headphones just died. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. What was I saying?
October Tinley is something.
Oh yeah, it's going to be on the yearly circuit now. Daytona and Tinley. I won't be missing those going forward.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and start making some Tinleys, man. It's a haul. It's a haul from here. How far are y'all from Chicago?
We did the drive in about 13 hours.
Oh wow, so it's pretty far for
It's
y'all
like the
too.
same
then.
distance to freaking
Yeah,
Daytona.
it's-
Yeah, I think Daytona is actually further, but with Daytona, we split the trip up, drive down to Maryland, and then, the next morning leave from Maryland to Florida. But yeah, the distance between Maryland and Florida and Connecticut to, Illinois is quite comparable.
Jeez, man.
Yeah,
I
and
st- I still think it's so crazy that for us, 3.5 hours we're there. It's
yeah,
it's nothing. We got to cross the state, but
we crossed like a tiny sliver of a state.
yeah, true, but still,
It's the worst part of that drive too. I hate that. Did I do that drive through like Brunswick and stuff? It's only like an hour, but it just like
I don't mind it,
I
man.
hate that drive through Brunswick for some reason. It just we hit that part of Georgia. I'm like this is the worst.
I love going to Florida so
Freaking
much.
bits.
I'm going to Florida again the beginning of December, and that's going to be like my 5th or 6th time going to Florida this year. And it's like my second home, man. I love it. I love Florida so much.
yeah, and doing the north to south drive it's interesting, seeing all the fauna change over time,
Oh yeah.
and all of a sudden the palmettos pop up in South Carolina or wherever, and yeah, it's a good drive
Yeah, it's fun. I drove to
when you have
I
air
drove,
conditioning.
yeah, when you have AC, yeah, for sure. Especially in August.
Yeah,
I drove to actually the first time I'll say I met you. It's more of like I saw you. The Northeast Carpet Fest back in 18, was it?
yep, yeah. I think that
Yeah,
was.
I think it was 18. I drove out there, man. That trip was brutal, man. I'm not gonna lie. It took me like 12 hours to get there, but I drove that in the day, by myself. I drove back through the night and a weekend. And but it's always such a pretty drive, man. Especially once you get into Pennsylvania and things start getting all hilly, and it's a very different world. At least from this part of the
And you can actually breathe up here.
you can actually what?
Breathe.
Breathe. Yeah. No, that's cool, man.
I want to get up to Tinley. I do.
Yeah, I want to go. So I'm telling you, man, I'm gonna make 24 happen one way or another. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I highly encourage it. They're very different shows than NARBC, that is, in comparison to Daytona.
I went to NARBC Arlington when I was living in Texas, and yeah, it is very different.
As far as the show goes, is Tinley bigger than Daytona, or is it about the same?
This year it felt like Daytona was bigger, but I don't know the numbers offhand.
It's so hard to tell from like the pictures and videos because it seems like maybe it's the hall that Tinley's in. It makes it seem like it's bigger.
Yeah, it's not one giant rectangular box like the Ocean County Center is. There's a corner, it's hard to compare. It's a very different footprint.
Yeah. Billy's always told us like Daytona is, it's like you said, it's a party. Everybody gets together, we drink, have a good time. It's a party show. Tinley's more business, like a lot more, animal sales focused and stuff like that. But
yeah, I would definitely agree with that. They don't have the bar options and whatnot that Daytona does. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like, especially for Southeast guys, it kind of has to be, to dedicate that kind of time and money to make that trip. It kind of has to be a little bit more, sales oriented. If you're in Florida and you've been Daytona, you can afford to not make as many sales if you want, if you don't try for it as hard, and because it's not nearly as far and all that, but I feel like that at Tinley trip, especially for Southeast guys, it's a commitment, man.
Yeah, 100%. There's a guy up here who I get rats from who does Tinley every year, and he gets all his displays and whatnot freighted over. He flies on the that his snakes travel on, and by the time he gets to the expo center, his whole display is already set up, and he just has to pop it into the display. So, but that being said, having that kind of service is a substantial cost, and if you're not making your money back, it's can be a little discouraging for sure. Being out $8,000-$10,000 for the weekend. So
yeah, that's intense, man. Jesus.
But yeah, it's amazing at least me coming to know how down to a science that some of these guys have it, and guys and girls, it's a whole nother level.
Yeah, man, it's nuts.
It would just be nice to see a table at any show, or even multiple tables that had captive bred chondros. That's become like the rarest thing.
Yeah,
at shows. Doesn't matter which show, it seems.
Yep. So we James and I hope to bring that back a little bit.
Is it mostly like the sort of the higher end designer stuff, or are you guys trying to do some more of the quote unquote entry level captive bred?
I think the entry level captive bred stuff would probably do the best at these shows, and kind of caters more towards the clientele that's there.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of people are walking around with $5,000, $10,000, $12,000 burning a hole in their pocket. So picture bringing the super high end stuff down there, but yeah, I think the $800 to $2,000 mark is probably the sweet spot for shows.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem like there's a lot of people putting a whole lot of focus onto sort of those baseline captive bred stuff. Everyone's kind of swinging for the fences and going for the Maseratis of chondros, and some people just want a nice Toyota.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, it's just being able to produce those animals on a consistent basis, to continue doing the circuit and really getting the positive reinforcement or encouragement of people actually buying stuff. James and I traveled up to that New Hampshire show and had very reduced show pricing, and we didn't sell a single snake all weekend. So
wow.
So it not that I do shows to make money or anything, it was just great to talk with everybody, but it's not to put your neonate chondros through that, it can be a lot, especially for like an overnight trip like we did in New Hampshire, and I don't know.
Yeah,
definitely hard to compete when you got those import tables with the $375 beyond.
Yeah.
Trying to explain to people why it's not what it seems.
Yep. But it's cool to be able to educate people on captive bred chondros, especially the stuff with the lineage going back to the 70s and what have you. There's no other python or reptile really that comes to mind that's as well documented as captive bred chondros are. It's just every step of the way for most of these bloodlines that have been around is extremely well documented, unlike anything else that I keep. So that's half the fun in it to me.
Yeah, for sure, man. I tell you, I don't know a single person that knows lineage like you do, man. It's honestly so cool. And you're like, yeah, this came from yada 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 yada, all this stuff. I'm like, God damn, man, that's nuts.
Yeah, so yeah, I get to nerd out, and I certainly get really into it. That's for sure. So
yeah, that's awesome.
I love it.
It's crazy to think that if literally like one or two people hadn't decided to make that a thing way back when, that it wouldn't be sort of the standard practice with green trees that it is.
Yeah. I mean, if you didn't have guys like Trooper or Eugene or people with zoological backgrounds, who knows what this the state of design or chondros would really be,
Yeah.
Or if Tim Morris never paired the two chondros that he got from Trooper, what would this blue line be?
Right.
It's really cool, and guys like me and people who've gotten to chondros recently or fairly recently, get the opportunity to keep it going. So it's really cool. There's nothing quite like them.
Yeah, and it's important to keep that going, man. As soon as one person drops the ball, that's it can create a domino effect, man. You gotta, we're responsible for maintaining the stuff that those guys started. It's important that we keep it up.
Carrying the torch.
That's right.
Yeah, and it's even just from being the kind of guy I am and nerding out a lot on the history of chondros and whatnot. Amount of lines that were developed and got refined and whatnot, and just one thing led to another, and the line's not around anymore.
Yeah,
Right.
It's a shame to see that happen. The lemon line's a perfect example. I don't think there's a single pure lemon tree out there anymore.
But I wonder, though, as many issues as those seem to have, like, would it have really, just because it could have been different doesn't necessarily mean it would have been better? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the lemon line just seemed, I wasn't in it then, but it just seemed to be plagued with infertility, and it's hard to pinpoint, but it's just it's really amazing the difference that one animal from one bloodline can do. Like, what comes to mind is Velvet being at the barn at Christian's. It is really shot, put calicos back on the map. You couldn't get extreme calicos and animals from the bloodlines that resembled the likes of October and Prince and all the iconic calicos that come to mind. But Velvet is a prolific breeder. I think it's produced 5, 6, potentially more clutches, and more people now than 5-10 years ago have their hands on really high-end calico stuff. So and what Dave D and John are doing with the blue line, it's amazing what a role one person or a handful of people can have, and one specific animal just changing the course for the whole bloodline and the whole future of the line.
Yeah, it's wild, and I mean that's something that I've wished that other sectors of the hobby sort of also sort of adopted, was that keeping track of lineage. And I mean, I kind of understand why a lot of them don't. And it's because with chondros, like, you get so many unique individual animals, it makes it easier to do that. Like with corn snakes, like, unless you have something that is sort of very high and to the right and like interesting and just different from like everything else, like I have my bunch of castagnas and stuff, and it's like I don't have a singular one that would like stand out necessarily from the others, so it's like I could keep that lineage together, but it's like you just don't have those flagship animals like you do in chondros. I can think of a handful of corns maybe that you could warrant doing that with, but when you have sort of just generic amels and generic classics and baseline morphs that all look identical to one another, it's just not as easy to do. But I think with those flagship animals, some of the stuff that like JT at Silent Hill has, Chris has a couple animals that are just really, really odd. We don't know exactly what's going on genetically there, but like those are the ones that I think you definitely like. Those are warrant keeping track of that stuff long term. Conjures just have that novelty sort of to them, where you can have animals from the same clutch, but they look completely different, and they have something unique to them that you don't see anywhere else, that you can keep track of that stuff with. There's identifiers like visibly different from other stuff. And I can't think of another species really where that could be a thing, except for maybe Amazons. But
yeah, there's no other python group that I can think of, or specific species in any category that works like chondrogenetics work, and that the lineage actually does matter, and there is an aspect of predictability you can get from getting the right two snakes together. Like one of my favorite iconic chondros is Crazy, from Daddy Pants and Tim Morris Blue Female, and there was Blue Deuce and Crazy in that clutch, and they look nothing alike. But Blue Deuce was bred one way, Crazy was bred one way, and their individual traits, get passed on. They're from the same clutch, but you're not going to get, at least I haven't seen, animals from Blue Deuce that resemble the kind of offspring that Crazy's throwing.
Mm-hmm.
The crazy look of Crazy, and Dave D has an insane crazy snowflake female and has produced some offspring from that just have that crazy look, or that calico look, as like another example. It really does get passed down. You can recreate that iconic look or expand on it or have slight variations, with a little bit of predictability from putting the right stuff together.
And to think that, I mean, when Trooper was starting out with it and stuff, I mean, you're talking about like green snakes.
Yep.
And in a couple decades, like here we are with just some of this wild stuff, not only here in the States, but the stuff that like Pedro has overseas and some of that other stuff, dude. It's like if you showed someone like we started here and here's where we're at, like there'd be a big question mark right there in the middle of like, how did you get from A to B? Like it's wild to me that you get some green snakes that started out and it's just morphed into the stuff like what Dave has. Like I don't think Dave has a single chondro that isn't just absolutely unbelievable. Same with John. Like ugly green trees don't exist, but they also seem like guys. It's like they're not going to have a green snake on a stick. Like it's going to be just unbelievable, like all over the place, just crazy stuff, just mind blowing.
I also think, as far as like the whole chondro lineage thing, I think that's obviously, with chondros, like y'all are saying, it's a little different because you have those flagship animals, but I do think it's something that the rest of the hobby like needs to adopt, especially, when you're dealing with, stuff like wild caught animals or, F1, stuff like that. I think, with, like Justin, your Ladies Island line of corns or a lot of the, locality rats I'm working with, I think it's really important to, keep track of all that stuff and make sure that lineage gets passed on to new people, getting into it, or, getting this locality, whether it be a chondro or a, fucking yellow rat snake. It's important that the lineage information gets passed along and that these people know it so that can continue. The last thing I want is one of my Pasco County, yellows to just get sold as, yep, it's a yellow rat snake. Here you go. Yes, you're not wrong. It's a yellow rat snake, but they deserve more. Like they're all unique in their own way, and I think it's important that a lot of people kind of follow that chondro aspect and adopt that mindset of keep these lineages in track, whether they be pure or not, know exactly what's in your animals. Some things like a lot of the morph corns, it's too far gone. There's no some of it's like there's no tracking, but that's why whenever I get a new locality, I make sure I have all the information. I know where they came from. I know who produced it if they're not wild caught, and keep all that, in mind, man, because we want these animals to, go much farther than our collections. We want these things to stay alive and to, not just become run of the mill snakes. There's something special to each and every one of them. And I think it's important that we remember that, So
well said. Yeah. It adds a story to the snake. It's, I don't know. Yeah. Not everyone thinks like us, and it is what it is, but yeah, it's hard to go back in time really with all the stuff that's produced on such scales and the basement and stuff like that. But that's why chondros are the best.
I can't give that to chondros as far as lineage is concerned. Y'all definitely take the cake on that. There's no doubt about it.
I think carpets are probably the second
Carpets,
closest,
and
because
I
there
would-
are flagship carpets.
Yeah,
that
for
do-
sure. And I would even go farther and say like popwing carpets are up there, because there's a lot of flagship, popwings out there that, because there wasn't as many morphs in them, yada yada yada. Not saying there isn't flagship animals in coastals and jungles. There 100% are, and maybe it's mostly
Benjamin.
because I'm in the popwing world more than any other as far as carpets are concerned. But dude, there's a ton of different flagship animals with carpets. Poster child, Hannibal, all the VPI stuff. All that is important. I've got a lot of that lineage, luckily, and I keep track of all of it. To make sure I know what I'm putting out, and I'm very grateful to have something like Poster Child, because that was not bred a lot. I've got an animal that's 50% Poster Child and M-Pen, and it's just cool, man. There's a story behind it, and it's important.
That's yeah. I mean, having that female from Brahms that's got signal herp lineage in it. Like, I think that's cool to have a sort of
sure.
a slice of Rico's legacy. Even though I never knew him, I never talked to him, but to know that chondros wouldn't be where they are now if it weren't for him, and things like that. It's awesome to be able to have that and keep it going.
I mean, you talk about flagship animals, man. You talk about flagship people. Some of these guys aren't around anymore, man, and to they're smiling, or would be smiling wherever they are, just being like, yeah, that's still alive, man. You make those people proud, and they deserve that. They put a lot of work into this hobby, and we have to respect that. They deserve it, more than anything. So
yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Well, we are surpassing the 2-hour mark. Do we have any other talking points, Smitty, before we close this sucker out?
When are you gonna get rhino rats?
They've always piqued my interest for sure, and I'm good buddies with Mike Curtin, and getting to play with his little babies and whatnot. They're really cool. But
I'm honestly kind of surprised you don't have them. Like they seem like your style, man.
Well, yeah, when I saw the blue one at Tinley, I kind of
okay.
I got certainly more interested. But we'll see what happens.
See what happens. I hear you, man.
Never ever say never ever.
Barons. There's blue barons, right?
There are.
There's actually blue barons, unlike the fake blue that rhinos try to be.
They also come in a lovely turd brown.
Yes, those are also very cool.
I'm not gonna lie, I like the browns. Are nice.
Browns they're all awesome.
They're
man.
all nice.
You can get them with stripes. You can get them patternless. You can get them green, blue, brown. It's you never know. Barons could be the next chondros, man. You start crossing some of those colors, and you don't know what's gonna pop out, man.
Hey, you never know. Never
know.
No. Yeah, if it was one or the other, it's rhinos. But
I knew you would say that,
because chondro guys
can't
taste.
No, because you can't handle the heat. Can't handle it.
Off,
Well, this was a great episode, man. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll have to definitely keep in touch a little bit more and do more episodes and down the road, man. And gotta do our Andy update every now and then, see what's going on with you.
100%, man. Certainly up for it, and a treat as always to sit down and talk with you guys. So
man.
Yeah, me on.
Yeah, man. We certainly appreciate it. Once again, this episode was brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com. You need a rack, you need a cage. They are the best in the biz.
All the rage.
Fastest lead times in the industry. Quality, man. I mean, it is the best of the best. You're not going to get a better company out there for PVC cages. New stuff coming down the pipeline. Really
And
excited to see them
also,
progress.
if you have a question about BlackBox stuff,
Yeah,
get ready for this. This is gonna blow your mind.
That's gonna blow your mind. Wait.
You message the page.
They'll message you back.
You get a message back within a reasonable time frame.
That's right.
No emails and waiting, and
No.
then getting a generic answer about when your stuff's gonna be ready. Of like, yep, you're gonna have one eventually.
Yeah,
It's real.
They're real people. They're
Real
reptile.
cool.
They're reptile people. Real good. Amazing people. I love going down there to see them. They're just awesome people with an awesome company, providing an awesome product. They're customizable. They give you a ton of options whenever you check out. Whether you like back heat,
To the window,
belly
to the wall.
heat. They're even doing side doors on their cages now, which I thought was really cool. Are offering the option for side
like end
yeah.
doors
on their cages, and it's cool, man. They're literally the most solid PVC cages I've ever dealt
we
with.
could probably throw one off my roof right now and it'd be fine.
They're so solid. Like, my old cages, I'd have a stack and you could just kind of like wiggle it. I didn't like the wiggle. It would bother me. But BlackBox, no sir. Solid as a rock.
And you know what? The doors don't scream when you open them either. That's my one gripe with that sharp horn cube is like you open those doors, you're waking up the entire house, man. That thing's like,
yeah.
Like, oh my god. And everyone's like that too, because Olsen had some and it was like same thing. Every time you open the door, it's like, oh my god.
Nah, man. Silent as a mouse. So definitely check them out on Facebook and Instagram, and then give them a follow.
Use code THN at checkout.
Yes, THN at checkout. Save yourself 10% off. Definitely help you out with that shipping, or if you want to pick up, go pick up, man. It's worth the drive. You can also put a face to the name of the owners. You will not be disappointed.
Jen and Clint.
That's right. Best people around. Then once you're done checking out blackboxcages.com, shoot on over to Steve Snaketuary with Steve Snaketuary's Venom Hot Sauce. If you're a hot sauce connoisseur, you will not be disappointed in this hot sauce. It's very good. And plus, once you're done with the bottle, you get a nice little souvenir at the end, little something for the snake room.
You get the bottle, but you also have the memories.
That's right. The memories. Hey, you
can't
make
bottle memories.
No.
But you can bottle hot sauce.
Goddamn right. So definitely check him out. He's a first responder. He's doing a lot of good for the community where he's at. He's does a lot of education, rehabilitation, public outreach, all the good stuff.
Teaching all the good people of Louisiana how cottonmouths don't chase you.
No, they do not. Cottonmouth sauce will chase you though. To
go get more.
Yes. You'll be running
back to that bottle.
That's right. Every time. Mm-hmm. Every time. So give him a follow, check him out. Also Facebook and Instagram, all that good stuff. And then last but not least, follow my good buddy over here, Fulvius Apparel.
The nerdiest shirts available.
Yes, they're great. He's coming up with new designs all the time.
It's my creative outlet.
They're great, man. Love his shirts. I have a million of them. A lot of other people do. I saw Clint's post about your shirts, man. I was like, dude, it'd be so cool if he ordered like a bulk of them and start carrying them in a shop, man. That'd be so sick, dude.
I sent him a picture of this one. I was like, dude, I can make this in youth sizes. Toddler sizes, youth sizes, onesies. I can do it all.
I'd put my kid in that, no doubt.
People are like, it's great because people think it's like a mushroom or something. They're like, what is it? And you're like,
little does he know. Yeah. But so check everybody out. If you're not following Andy, get out from under the stupid rock that you live in. Andy, you didn't tell us, man. Where can people find you?
You didn't ask him.
Where can people find you, man?
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, all that fun stuff under AM_Arboreals on Instagram, AM Arboreals on Facebook, or Andy Middleton on Facebook. Feel free to reach out. Always happy to talk snakes.
Yeah, man. If you're not following Andy, you need to get out of the dumb rock that you're under and follow him. You will not be disappointed. You
won't. You get to see all those chondros that I'm wiping drool off my face over all the time.
That's right. He's
He's staring at my phone and mouth breathing like some sort of weirdo.
big things to come with Mr. Middleton. We're all excited to see where he goes with all of his cool stuff.
That's right.
So
we'll be
all right.
back for Snakes and Stogies on Monday. We aren't having an episode next week because it's like some holiday or some shit.
Some silly holiday. So, whoa.
Oh, I think so. Monday, I believe Trey is joining us again from Cold Blooded Caffeine to make our unveiling.
Ooh.
I believe I need to actually message him tomorrow.
By the way, I really enjoyed y'all's episode on the substrate. I liked it. It's good. Phil had a
wait. I was waiting for messages from people saying, "You're the devil because you use pine. You're going to hell."
No, I really enjoyed that episode. You know, Phil definitely mentioned a few things that I was like, yeah, I never thought about that. So it's a good thought.
It's because here's the box.
Yeah,
Phil's outside of it.
That's outside of it. You know, one thing that I actually did for this upgrade, I changed. There's a few things I haven't changed yet, but I'm switching everything to Cypress mulch.
The more we talked about it,
it.
It's got the gears turned. I may end up switching everything over to that too.
For me, it's like spill water bowls. I don't worry about nearly as much, and I've gotten big on like providing a rain, you know, for some of them, especially because everything I keep is pretty much southeast. So being able to spray down the enclosure.
I think you're also less likely to have, like with corns and stuff in particular, they're not going to throw it in their water bowl like they do with the pine and stuff.
Yeah. I've switched a lot of stuff over, and so far I love it. So that is one thing I did that I'm very happy about. So, all right, we will see y'all in 2 weeks here. Check out Snakes and Stogies on Monday.
Have a good Thanksgiving. Please don't get stabbed over a TV.
Yeah, don't do that. Be safe.
We would appreciate it if we didn't have to hear about people getting hurt over electronics.
Yeah, that'd be ideal. So, thank you.
Stay safe.
Be safe.
Bye.
Have a great day, night.